30 minutes of power.
Welcome to 30 Minutes of Power, a podcast dedicated to educate, encourage, and inspire godly people to use their power to empower others. Join your hosts, Jori O'Neale and Nicole Salter, as they share powerful insights on how you can use your God-given talents and gifts to make a positive impact in the
Welcome back to
world.
another lovely episode of 30 Minutes of Power, TOP, your one-stop shop for all things inspirations, motivational, and educational. With your girl, Nicole Salter, me, Jori O'Neale, and we've got again the doctor of the house, Miss Joy Robert. What's going on, ladies? How you doing? How you feeling?
Hello.
We are good.
I'm excited because we have officially ended our mock versus mark series. Super excited to start this new series where we're going to actually be diving a little bit more into education. So, Nicole, you want to share with the people what today's title is?
Yes, today starts a new series called Balancing Acts, where we are just going to discuss how it is to be a full-time mom or a full-time dad, whichever one you are, and to have to deal with not only being a full-time parent, but also being a full-time worker or being a full-time volunteer, because there are people that like to volunteer and help people and they do it full-time. And so today I have the privilege of interviewing the one and only Jori O'Neale. I will be interviewing Jori because she is an educator that deals with a bunch of snot-nosed children. And then after a busy day of working, she has to come home and tend to her own children. And sometimes it can be very difficult, especially if it's been a full moon and you've had one crazy day at work and you come home and the full moon is still there and you have a crazy day at home too. So Jori, I have a series of questions that I am going to ask. So question one for the people that are listening, right? What year did you start teaching and when was Donovan born? Donovan is baby number one. So when did you start teaching and then when was Donovan born?
So I started teaching individuals with developmental disability 2004, 2003, 2004.
Okay.
Donovan was born 2013.
Okay. So you've had, that was a stretch from the time you started dealing with children that were not your own. How different is it from then to now? Well, not now, because now you got four. So how different was it from transitioning to being able to go to work, come home, relax, right? Kick up your feet, maybe cook dinner, maybe not cook dinner. Like if it's just the two of you, Netflix and chill, right? Like order some food, just sit down, food come, we eat, call it a day. So how was it going from Netflix and chill after work to, man, I gotta cook and I have to make sure that this other little human stays healthy and and alive, and I have to like provide all of their needs. Like how was that?
So very different, I would say, because having children and starting a family was part of the plan, right? So when I initially started work with individuals with special needs, I don't think I anticipated being a teacher. Like I was teaching, but like the idea that I would be overseeing a classroom, right? I didn't see that really happening, but that is the path that God was leading me towards and leading me down. And so each choice that I made, it just opened up another door. And so I finally went back to school, which is where we met, the
Right.
Queens College, to get my master's in education. And that was 2008.
Mm-hmm.
So I had been teaching for 4 years before I actually decided to go back. Charter, private, Catholic schools. And so seeing how children moved, I was like, I don't know if I want this. I don't know. But I met a boy and I liked that boy. And, I married that boy. And part of what we discussed when we were engaged was we wanted to try to have children, and we gave ourselves 10 years. And so we said, we're gonna try to have as many kids as possible in those 10 years. And then
Okay.
after that, like, we're done. And so I had been an educator for 10 years, and now I'm trying to have children with all this foreknowledge now of being an
Mhm.
educator. So being ABA trained and learning about social emotional learning and,
Mm.
like child development. Like, I was in school learning these things before I ever had a kid. Um,
Okay.
so I feel like I was preparing myself to be a parent.
Okay.
And so when God finally blessed us to have a child, I had knowledge to pull from, right? And I also had friends who were doctors, physicians, and some lactation specialists.
Mhm.
And so I had a good community of humans around me when I had Donovan. And because my husband and I, we were um, very spiritual people. And we desire to worship and acknowledge God with all parts of us. We didn't have Netflix and chill before we had a kid because we didn't live together. We were dating and we were engaged and we lived in two separate spaces. And after we got married, um, even our schedules, they weren't aligned. Like, he worked nights, I worked days. So we didn't really see each other much. And it wasn't until we said, we're gonna try to have children, that we both went for jobs where our schedules were more aligned, so that we can have that time together, right?
To make
So
the children.
right. So, so it was like when the Netflix and chill started happening, that's when the baby started coming. There wasn't much time to be chilling. It was just like, as soon as we start chilling, that's when the baby started coming. That's when they got coming. And so yeah, my oldest, he'll be 10 this year. So we're done. 10,
We're
10 years.
done.
We
I
out
hear
from
I hear
2013 to 2023. We out. We done. That's it. Mic drop moment. Out.
So now, how do you feel your patience level may have changed between before, like work with kids before your own and work with kids after your own?
Oh, I was at night and day, but like, when as a teacher having no kids, I was like, what's wrong with y'all? Something like y'all just get it together. Like, no patience at all. Um, and then after I had my first kid, it was like, would I want a teacher to be communicating, talking to, interacting with my kid like this? And it was like, probably not. So then it was like, it was a lot more empathy. I'll put it like that. It was a lot more empathy in me just really trying to be the best teacher I could be. I'm like, is this the type of school, is this the type of classroom, is this the type of learning environment that I would want my son to enter into? And if it wasn't, then I had to shift and change and make moves. But it was definitely eye opening. But before I had Donovan, nah, I was like, I don't. I was like, I will teach any class except the babies. I do not, no, don't give me no pre-K, don't give me no kindergarten. I don't want, if they can't vote, I don't want to talk to them. They can't drive, they can't vote. They're like, that's no class. I'm like, well, I don't think this is the right job for me. I don't know. But now I love teaching high school kids. I love working with high schoolers. I love helping them discover who they are. But that work started well before I became like a classroom teacher. I was a team
Mhm.
worker in my church for years, just mentoring and advocating for kids and helping them learn themselves, learn more about Jesus. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And so that was the experience that was like, teens, okay. They're not so bad. They're not great, but they're not so
And that's so
bad.
bad.
Like I think I can play with them. And so I've been teaching high school for the last 10 years.
Are there, if any, are there any strategies that you take from school and bring it home to educate your children? Now, I understand that you are working with high school kids, right? But you are one of the parents that I learned from as a parent, where I don't have to talk to my children as if they're babies. Like, I can talk to them and teach them four-syllable words, even though they're two, you know? Whatever I teach them they will is what will sink into them and how they will live going forward, right? And so I can remember one day, I don't even remember what we were talking about, but you looked at Donovan and you said something to him in in regards to, like, does he understand what is going on or something, and you used words that, like, I feel I would only talk to Jamel with. And I was like, wait, our sons are close in age. Like, he know what you're saying? He know what you're talking about? And well, if you teach him what you're talking about, then yeah, he's gonna know what you're talking about, right? So what strategies do you take from your high schoolers, and maybe not teach your children what you're teaching high schoolers, right? But kind of sort of tweak it for them so that you're not trying to cook different meals for everybody in one night, so to speak.
I mean, you've known me long enough to know that I don't cook anyway. So that's not that's not even a that's not a question. Different meals. Like we don't even start with the first meal. The crazy thing is that I don't because I teach phys ed and I teach health and advisory. I don't teach English.
Mhm.
What I teach is accountability, right? Like I teach character through sports. I teach character through social interactions. And so that's what I bring to my household. But honestly, I learned all that from my mom. Like she's been in education for 40 years. She's a big advocate for literature, literacy, reading, learning. And so she always had us in the library, reading books, consuming books, like creating stories, writing stories. And so that love of learning and that the love of words and appreciation for, meaning, the meaning of words and what they mean. Like I got that from my mom. And so that's what I pass on to my kids. But from an early age, I was like, I don't want to code switch. I spent a lot of time, and I shared this with somebody the other day. I spent a lot of time becoming Jori. I didn't know who that was, how I was this way for this group of people. I was this other way for this other group of people. And so I was always shape shifting. And I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. Like I want to just be one human because
Mhm.
it's a lot of energy trying to be all
Mhm.
things to all people, right? Like your
Mhm.
analogy of cooking the different meals for all the other.
Mhm.
I just want to be consistent. I want to be one person. And so I said, well, if I speak to my kids in a way, and it's like any other language, because I speak English. If I spoke Korean and my kids didn't understand Korean when they were first born, but if I keep
Mhm.
speaking to them and I use context clues and facial expressions and hand gestures, they're gonna figure out what I'm saying.
Right.
And then they're gonna start repeating it. And so people always, they commend me. They're like, "Oh wow, like your 4-year old has such good diction. Like he speaks so well. He's so well spoken." And I'm like, I speak English to him. The same English I use in my class, the same English I use with my friends, the same English I use with my. I'm speaking the same language. Now, my kids will stop me and be like, "Mommy, what's that word mean?" My students even stop me. It's like, "Miss, What is that word? We don't know that word. Right. And so now we do the teaching. But I'm not changing. I'm not dumbing it down.
Right.
I'm not hyping it up. Like we gonna speak regular
Right.
and you figure it out. And if you don't, you ask questions. You stop me but I think we have to stop catering to where we think our kids are and really like hold them accountable and set a high bar and a high standard because they'll actually reach it. They'll make it there. But you have to set it high enough. And they like challenges. They absolutely love challenges. Like my kids love using big words. And their teachers all like, oh, wow, such a big word you used today in school. And I'm like, oh man, like absolutely, they get all hyped and excited about it. But I'm like, you're speaking English. People are giving you all these kudos for speaking English. Like, good for them. Great job.
It's sad that in the technology and educational world that we live in today, right? People still talk to babies in that baby talk. I feel like I'm a victim of it, what you teach is what you do. And I feel like I'm a victim of it until someone pointed it out and said, "Why are you talking to him that way? Do you think he understands you?" And I was like, I don't know. Maybe I'm talking to him that way because I think that's that's what he knows. And then there was one time where I saw Baby's Day Out. It's a movie. Baby's Day Out. And in the movie, there's the dad where the camera is facing the dad as if the baby is seeing what the dad is doing. And he's talking and baby talk and doing all of these funny motions. And I'm like, you really look dumb. The baby is probably like, what are you doing? And so I think that was the turning point for me where I started to talk to my children in full sentences. Like, I remember back in New York, we had spelling words or vocabulary words actually on our fridge. And while I was cooking, Christopher had to make a sentence on the fridge if he wanted to take something out to eat. And so I think that, just learning from other people around me, it definitely helped. It definitely helped with my situation when it came to raising children. Do you feel like there are differences in the way you talk to and discipline your children between school and work?
Well,
I know you can't do much discipline, right, at work, but as far as letting them know
I
something
discipline
is
because
wrong.
so discipline it's an odd word to use in the Board of Education because there's corporal punishment and there's all these
Right?
things.
It's a
Um,
negative thing.
right, but discipline is correction.
Mhm.
So I correct my children, and between the hours of 8 and 2:20, I have
Yeah, you
about
could.
213 children. It's a
Right.
lot.
It
So
is a lot.
when I come home,
That's a lot of Netflix and chill.
these these four, these four is nothing. These four is nothing compared to the 213 I got to deal with. 5 days a week from 8 to 2:20. Um, but I do correct them. If they say anything hurtful or they do anything that's egregious or dangerous, right? They make poor choices. That is like we have a conversation about it, and sometimes I do take away their toys. like, like I teach phys ed. Boys just want a ball. Like that's all they want, and I'm like, if you cannot perform the task as required in a safe manner, you will not get this equipment. We will try again tomorrow, but for
Right.
today, we're done. Because it's a
Right.
safety issue. Like I'm all about safety. If just throwing balls at people's heads just for the fun, that's not fun.
No. Not at all.
so many words other than fun. And one, it's not safe. So yeah, I do discipline
Right.
them, but it's more of a correction. Like I want them to learn to make better choices. I want them to learn self-control. And these are the same things that I pray for my children every morning before I drop them off. I tell them,
Okay.
you are loved, you are special, you are respectful, you are responsible, you are kind, you are a great decision maker, you are self-control. Like these are the affirmations I say to them, and their
Mhm.
response is, I receive it. I receive it. And this is what I tell my kids before they leave. And then once I finish my class, I'm like, I feel like you guys need to be affirmed. And so today, like, one of my students was like, he was like, thank you so much, miss. I said, hey guys, before you leave, I need you to know that you are loved, you are cared for, you are cared about, and you're special. And he was like, thank you, miss. Like, it was just like, no one's told me this, like,
That is
and so I have a very large group of children. Some were given to me for a reason, some were given to me for a season, and I have mine that were given to me through birth, but kids need love. They need love, they need
Mhm.
structure, and they need
Mhm.
somebody to pour into them and let them know, like,
Mhm.
you're worth the time, you're worth the effort. And I think that's that part.
Right.
If educators approached their jobs the way they do their own children, because some of these teachers, like, they be going hard in the paint for their kids. Like, I mean, you talking about bar mitzvahs, like thousands of dollars and quinceañeras, and they have these little league and the lacrosse and the soccer camps. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of energy. And I'm like, if you put that, even an ounce of that energy into the kids that you taught, they would
Yep.
feel loved, they would feel okay to take a risk. And part of that risk taking would be answering your question out loud so that you knew that they didn't know the material before that test came.
Right.
Right. But if you continue to create this atmosphere of just inferiority where they feel like they don't know, they feel like they
Mhm.
can't ask, they feel like they can't
Mhm.
do, then don't be surprised when they don't raise their hand to share with you that they don't know the material. Don't be surprised when they
Right.
don't turn in the homework. Don't be surprised when they fail the regions.
Right.
Don't be surprised. So,
How do you how do you feel your communication with parents have changed from you not being a parent to you being a parent?
before I would go and just email, like all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time.
Mhm.
Before I was a parent. And I
Mhm.
know this probably sounds weird, like, well, as a parent, wouldn't you want to know how your kid is doing? And I'm like, as a parent now, having a child who does have like learning issues, um, who is on a behavior like contract, like a progress sheet, like every day I get a report. I am very serious. Like every day I get a report if they smacked a kid, if they bit a kid, if they right, like this is what I'm dealing with. Um, I don't want to know all the time. I don't. Like, are you helping them? Is it working? What can I do? Once we have that conversation, like, ah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, it's a lot. So I don't email and
Don't
call and
email
text.
every day.
No, it's overwhelming. I'm like, because when the teacher does that to me, I'm like, you don't know how many other kids I got going on. Like, what's going? Like, you don't know. Um,
Right.
and when the the child, because now she reads,
Mhm.
right? So she reads her progress report and she wants to read good stuff. She wants to read good things about herself, right? Like if mommy's saying positive affirmations to you, but every day you come home with this report that has all these negative words about you, like,
There's a problem.
yeah. So I communicate when I need to, and I communicate in a way that I'm not just tattletelling on the child. Now I'm really trying to build a partnership in this bridge between like school and home, where the parents like, okay. So I say, hey, here's what I'm seeing, here's what I'm noticing, here are some things that I think would help, right? Like I'm not just telling you all the problems, but I'm coming with solutions. Like these are
Right.
things that you can do. Here's what I'm gonna do, and let's link back up like in a couple weeks and see if it's making any movement, right? Like that's definitely changed since having children, especially this child that I have. That and, you know, she's getting much better. You know, I'm getting better reports. But the affirmations, I would say, just speaking life into her, that was probably the biggest catalyst. Like the largest pendulum shift was me saying all these nice things. Because if she's only hearing the bad things at school, and then when she comes home and she's giving me this report, and I'm only asking her about the bad things at home, then she's gonna have this narrative that she's bad, and she's
Right.
not. I don't think any kid is like inherently bad. I think they make poor choices, and depending on the reinforcement that they get, they're going to continue to make those poor choices, or they're going to make different choices.
Right. Okay. Last question. How do you maintain self-care after dealing with 200 plus students and then coming home and dealing with your own? How do you stop the noise, stop the mess, and just like reset for the next day, especially on a bad day? Like if everything possible has just gone wrong and you've just like thrown the lesson plan away, thrown the paper away, threw the comb and the brush out the window, everybody looking like baby kids, you know,
Wow.
how do you reset for tomorrow?
I usually record a podcast or write a book or no.
You
Imagine.
sound really good.
Um, so I think self-care for me looks like it looks like being alone. It looks like going into my solitary place and really like trying to figure out like what can I learn from all these things that are happening. Like I taking time to reflect, to read, to pray, to meditate. I do the I don't do the Netflix. I do the HGTV. I love my building and my cooking shows. I love those. But it
Wait,
is
you like shows, but you don't cook?
listen. I watch other people do it. I watch other people do it. It looks fantastic. I love it. I won't be like, "Hey, you on the TV, go, go, go!" And then I call, and then I tell somebody bring me food that looks like the food I saw on the TV. So I watch the shows for dinner ideas. Um, but it's really just decompressing because this too shall pass. Like it was a bad day. It was sometimes it's a bad week, sometimes it's a bad month, sometimes it's a bad year. But God spare life, there'll be another one. Like so I don't take things too seriously. And when things get super overwhelming, um, I talk to my husband. I talk to my husband, um, and he helps me with my perspective because he asks questions that I don't think about all the time. He's an observer, so he'll ask me questions and it'll help reframe how I'm thinking about things. And then all the bad things don't seem so bad. And again, self care is it's just like taking some time and just like stopping, like stop doing all the things, stop trying to solve all the problems. But yeah, usually alone time. I may seem to a lot of humans like an extrovert, but I am not. It is a facade. It is a big facade. I love my quiet alone time. I enjoy it very much. And it refuels me. So I'm an oddball because I can be energized by being around a lot of people, right, in crowds, or I can be energized and replenished being alone. And so I think I'm on the cusp of an introvert and an extrovert. But when I've had a really bad day, alone time, absolutely. I don't need a nice hot shower or a bath or candles or I don't need none of that. Just leave me alone. Just leave me alone. Let me go work it out with God. And when I return, I'll be a regular human again. Green smoke won't be coming from my neck, and I won't. I won't. I
I
won't have
think
to.
it's very good to have that alone time and self-reflection time, because when you think about different situations that have gone wrong, right? And you play different scenarios in your mind. Oh, I should have done this, or I could have done that, or I could have done this and I could have done that. The next time something similar comes around, you have a better perspective on how to handle it. So I like and I admire the fact that you do take that alone time to, reflect on the day and on the issues that have happened. Me, I reflect in a hot shower. That is me. I love a good steamy hot shower where when I come out, I'm like, I'm very dehydrated. I need some water or I'm gonna pass out. Yes, it is very bad for me, but I'm addicted to it. And if I've had a bad day, that is what I do.
I'm good with alone time and some tea. Like I'm good with that. Just some hot tea.
That
Leave
is
me
great.
alone, and we're gonna come back out a whole new human. It's gonna be great.
Yes, I come out a whole red human. Dr. Joyce, is there anything that you would like to add before we say peace out?
Oh, I think you did a great job, Nicole. Yeah, great job, Jori, answering the questions.
As always. Well, that is it for tonight, folks. We are always here to answer your questions. Feel free to email us at ironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Any questions, any topics that you want to hear about, that you want us to research, let us know. We are signing off. Nicole Salter, Jori O'Neale, and Dr. George. See you next time.
Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to 30 Minutes of Power. We hope you found today's episode informative and inspiring. To stay connected with us and continue the conversation, follow us on Instagram at 30 Minutes of Power or email us at azironsharpensiron@gmail.com. Don't forget to visit our website at azisi.org to learn more about our mission and how you can get involved. Remember, your power can make a difference in the world. Let's be folks out there using our power to empower others.
30 minutes of power.